Good morning. Welcome to the Edge of Light. I'm Michael Hemmett. In today's episode, I'd like to go through a guided meditation um, that is somewhat of a visualization, but we will not be creating. I will not be creating a visualization for you. Visualization may or may not occur. Um, so, to start, let's do 10 breaths. Something that I had mentioned in a previous episode was that um, we divide our attention among many different, uh, somewhat less valuable things, and you know, just as an example, would be worrying about something that you have no control over. Concern, strategy, fine, but worry, fear, anxiety, uh, keeping a conflict alive in your mind that has gone past, like I should have said this or I wish I did that. Um, and just general ruminating and all these ways that we just kind of like fritter away our awareness, all that power. And um, and I like to describe it that way because the if we think of consciousness as the only thing in everything, and God, then I conceive of awareness as being like the direction of that consciousness. Now, a lot of times these two words are interchangeable, but I like to just for the sake of this conversation, um, if you think of consciousness as light, then awareness is like the reflector on a flashlight that points it, that directs that light. So, um, and again, these words are a little bit nebulous, but do the best we can. So the purpose of this meditation is to give an opportunity for people to maybe try to withdraw some energy from less practical means, um, and see what happens. Another really important thing about this kind of meditation is that some people think that, I'm assuming that, when I talk about my visions, like this wild, exotic, special thing that I do, Michael Hemmett does, and of course a lot of people do it too, but it's really not that. It's really available to everybody. It's just a matter of reallocating your awareness. Um, and if you've never done it, it might sound very far out, but you try it, and it's actually very accessible. So that's what we're going to do now. Um, this is best in a dark room because we will be going to internal vision, and so the darker the room that you're in, the better. Um, and so you want to be also in a very comfortable position. I do recommend being seated up as opposed to lying down, just because it's more active more engaging of the mind as opposed to lying down, which might be more sleepy. So sitting up in a very comfortable position, dark room, eyes closed. Deep breath out. Okay. So with your eyes closed, when you look around, you're seeing a mixture of your physical eyes and your inner vision. And what we're going to try to do is shift the proportion between the two. So typically, if you were to say, what do you see when you close your eyes? People say nothing. But that's not really true. There's never nothing. Um, it's just that when we don't know what we're looking at, or we don't know how to describe it, we just say nothing because it's easier. So let's go into that. When your eyes are closed, what do you see? It's not a perfectly uniform darkness. There's like a speckle or a static kind of look to it, right? So it's like for the older folks, the TV fuzz. It's not pure black. If you're in a lighted room, it's not pure pink either, or red. If you're outside, it's not pure white. There's a texture to whatever color you see. So just notice that. And I think it helps to not move your eyes around, even though you are, in a sense, looking at the back of your eyelids, but to just kind of peripherally observe. Now, as you're looking around, you might notice that even with the static, it's not a perfectly uniform static repeating, you know, like a repeating pattern, or like you may notice that there are spots where it's a little bit darker, and there's other spots where it's a little bit brighter. That there's a variation in the density of the speckle. So just notice that. Try not to give any meaning to it. Just notice that there's this speckle that has a non-uniform shape, and acknowledge that that there's something there that you're seeing. We're not going to say what it is or go down that path, but that you are seeing something that is not nothing. Now, what I notice at this point, and it is a little tricky for me to be noticing and speaking at the same time, but what I do notice at this point is that the areas of more and less dense light, the the bright spots and the dark spots, these variations, that they're not still. It's not a static landscape. There's like a ripple quality to it. And as I'm noticing this ripple, it draws my attention to a point that seems brighter than everywhere else. You may see one point, you may see many, you may see none. But just notice that as you're looking around, is the landscape moving or not? Pay very, very close attention. Another thing, another quality to investigate. Do you notice that there's color? I mentioned bright and dark, but is there a color there? A color present besides white or grayscale? There may be, there may not be. But just something else, suggestion to look for, to notice. I happen to be seeing a green, which is a little bit unusual for me. Um, More often I'll see blue. I don't know why necessarily. Uh, I also don't know that it's important what the color is or to create a story about it. It's just cool. So now I want to try being a little bit more active. As you are scanning the landscape. Notice something. It's just something that's the most interesting in the landscape. If it's the brightest spot, the darkest spot, a spot that is moving in an interesting way, or colored, or um, a shape, possibly. Rest on that and then go towards it. Okay. I think that's a really good place to start. So let's come back out, away from that point, out, uh, back into the larger space of your inner vision. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, open your eyes. So, like I said, the purpose is not to give you vision. Um, the purpose is more to encourage the interest in just seeing what's there. I think that while giving vision can be a very effective process, for example, to say like, uh, imagine the river and you're floating down the river, and you use that structure to guide somebody. Um, that is very effective. However, just getting accustomed to the inner space and familiarizing yourself with that, and and discovering what's there on your own, um, I personally feel like gives a lot more weight to it, because when you have a vision, you see something that you are surprised to see. The the first thought that typically will come up is, where did it come from? And if someone just told you where it came from, then unfortunately that might discount the experience, even though it could very well be perfectly legitimate. Um, this way of doing things also avoids any kind of hypnosis. I wouldn't want someone to feel like they were tricked into seeing something. Uh, you either see it on your own and you're confident that what you saw occurred, uh, or you didn't. Now, I would also caution, as I was mentioning before with Don Juan and Carlos Castaneda, you see what you see. That's true. That happens, and that cannot be false, because you just see what you see. The the room for error comes with interpretation. So you might see a dancing light. Oh, I saw a dancing light. Cool. And then someone else might go, oh, that was an alien, or that was an angel, or that was a little Menehune spirit. Um, and that's where uh, this practice can become problematic because um, creating fanciful stories about the visions, um, it's it's not just distracting. It can be it can lead to like misinterpretations and a missed message because ultimately, in my opinion, the purpose of being able to read the inner landscape is not to be entertained, although it can be really awesome in that sense. It's to be able to withdraw or extract information that is meaningful and relevant to you. Things that these subtle sources that are difficult to access otherwise. And so um, that's why it's really important not to impress information, story, or interpretations on the vision, but just to receive the vision as clearly and undisturbed as possible. And once that process is complete, then reflection, meditation, contemplation, all these things, seeing how it fits with the rest of what you know. Um, and this is just one style of meditation. I think now for the next time, I'd like to have started with a bit of the introductory breathing as they do in Vipassana. I think that the ability to sharpen the mind through subtle sensation, physical sensation, is very powerful. And so, now with these last few minutes, we'll just go ahead and try that. And so in the future, this would be something to do first, to go 10 breaths, and then what we're going to do now, and then go scanning the inner landscape. So, and to be clear, I didn't come up with this technique. This is Vipassana, what I'm about to show you. So you want to, with your eyes closed, comfortable seated position, focus on the area between the bottom of your nose and your upper lip. And notice when you breathe in, there's a sensation. And when you breathe out, there is a sensation as well, and it's different. So in is a little bit cool, out is a little bit warm. And you may also feel almost like a pulling on the skin on the way in, and a pushing on the way out. If you're having trouble with the detecting these sensations, go ahead and do a couple hard breaths through the nose just to make it really obvious. Like, okay, for sure, I feel that. And then you can do that a couple times and then go back to a more subtle breath, gentle. So the next step of this practice would be, instead of the entire region between the lip and the nose, just focus on this very point where the center of the nose meets the upper lip, uh, the upper mustache. So I didn't myself believe this at first until I went through the process, but it literally does sharpen your awareness by doing this breath mindfulness on the body. And by doing the sharpening, it will just make all the other things easier. That's the purpose. It's just that it, if you're gonna cook dinner, sharpen your knives first. Makes you could still chop, but with a sharp knife, it's just easier. So um, and of itself, I think it's a very enjoyable experience. So that's it for today. Take care.